know you guys probably got a lot of things to do in the social distancing era, but I want to say first of all, appreciate you guys coming on with us today, and when you talk about progressing on from the junior college into the 4 year level, your three names and Tim's name come up just constantly, and not only hey, you got Wisnowski in the NFL, but the fact of the matter is we had such a succession of great work ethics. That's the biggest thing I remember. Not just talent, not just the ability to punt the ball or kick the ball to a certain area and kill it. That was one thing. But the thing I remember the most was the work ethic. Phenomenal. I mean, that's one thing we always try to recruit, we try to enhance, we try to teach and advise people that you guys just had it in you. And I don't know if it's in the water in Australia or if it's just something that they really taught and emphasized. But just it's that's a highlight for us. And when Coach Aiden sent me the link invite, it just said the Punters, in quotation marks, the Punters. And when I first think of that, that's what I think about. And not just that, Trent's at USF and Joel went to Washington and Mitch went to Utah, but it's just like the work ethic, and it all started with Gleason, and coming from Wyoming and then going to Rutgers, and then it was just one after another. So I really appreciate you guys coming on with us, and I just want to ask you guys a couple questions about your experiences here, and obviously you've all been real successful in your careers, and the careers are continuing. But I want to ask you about some of the experiences that you had here, obviously coming in, either where you started at in Australia and then going through Pro Kick maybe, and then how'd you hear about Santa Barbara and how did it all transpire that you guys got here and how was the experience? And we'll go to Mitch first because in the progression, Mitch was right after Tim.
Yeah, I mean, I was I was at Pro Kick, had basically nowhere to live in Melbourne, and it was actually Tim Gleason's family that took me in, and I lived with them for a while. And then when we sort of did my grades and sort of transferred it from like the Australian system to the American, realized that I had to go to junior college, and that's when chap was like, look, regardless, there's no scholarships, you're paying out of state tuition, there's no better place than Santa Barbara. Like, Tim loves it, it's a beautiful area, the coaches are like, some coaches won't call him back, some coaches, especially back then, weren't that great at communicating, and he's like, Santa Barbara's great, what do you think? And I went online and Googled it, and I was like, yeah, this works.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's my memories of Santa Barbara are great. I met my fiance now, I met her at the school. It's right on the beach, so after football, me and Joel always volleyball nearly every helped with my conditioning going to Utah. But yeah, I think when you have a good work ethic and you know what you're capable of, you you need a coach that trusts you. And I remember it was great being like, okay, where do you want to punt it? Like, what sort of punt do you want? Like, you and Coach Aiden sort of trusted exactly what I knew, what I thought was best, and you guys were like, hey, you're the punter, like, go for it. And I think that's what helped me sort of find success there, and then again at Utah and even in the NFL.
Awesome. Whit, the next one in the progression.
Yeah. So same sort of deal. I was started a Pro Kick and then figured out that not taking any science in high school is actually a bad thing if you're trying to get into college in America. My grades weren't horrible. It was just I didn't take science, which isn't really a big issue in Australia, but it doesn't line up too well when you're trying to tick off the general eds. And so, yeah, Chap said to me, he said, yeah, look, if you want to go through with this, this is your route. Here's two guys that have, here's Tim, he's done it before, and there's a guy Mitch over there doing it right now. And I think Mitch is kind of a was like, get in touch with them, have a look at this place. Like, this is just, he's just like, get your own opinion on it. And I had a look on the internet. First photo I saw was the aerial view of the field and the beach, and I was like, I don't really need to see anymore. And I think I got in touch with Tim and Mitch and just had a couple of phone calls on Facebook or whatever to them, and they're like, yeah, it's awesome, like, we love it. Just look out for us. It's a good environment. It's, the location sort of speaks for itself. And went from there. Had no idea how to do any of this application stuff, and I think I remember getting in touch with Joanne Graham or some of the admissions people, and they were like super helpful, and that was really good too. And filling out all these forms, but yeah, eventually got over there, and was a bit of a shock to the system. Not I'd lived away from home for 3 years, and then suddenly I was even further away from home and didn't know anyone. I hadn't met Mitch before, and he had to he picked me up from the bus shelter and just sort of hit me. I'm like, well, I'm here. Like, this is I guess. And I honestly didn't. He'll tell you even better. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was just sitting.
You're just doing this the whole time. What do I do?
All right, so we go to Mooney's Tacos, get some tacos, and he's like, you want to go play beach volleyball? I was like, I've never played before. So we go and play beach volleyball, and then he goes and watches these motivational videos at night, and I'll call my family. And that was our life for about 10 days, I think. Just, tacos, punting, beach volleyball, and motivational videos.
I love it.
Turns out it worked.
Yeah,
That's
it
the key
works.
now.
A good training tool.
Yeah, this could be so much worse. It could be worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know who was even more lost when they first got here? Owen Orlan. I remember he slept in because he was jet lagged, and we all went to Costco and came back, and he was like, I've been trying to have a shower for about an hour and a half. He couldn't figure out. I'll give it to him. Showers in America when you first get here can be quite tricky. But Owen couldn't figure out the shower for about an hour and a half.
I struggled going grocery shopping. I did about 6 laps around Ralph's, and I still couldn't find fresh bread. And I was like, I guess they just don't have fresh Australian white bread over here. And
have you found it? You've been here for 5 years. Have you found it yet?
Yeah, I drove up to Vancouver about 10 weeks ago, and they got a Baker's Delight up there, and I bought 6 loaves of bread.
Oh wow!
I love it.
Australian company. But, yeah, I mean, I got there. I was pretty lost for a little while, but playing beach volleyball sort of helped. And I remember I thought, coming in, Mitch will tell you I didn't know any of the rules, and so that was my first learning curve. Didn't know how to put shoulder pads on. I was trying to avoid embarrassment. Couldn't figure that out. Couldn't figure out how to put all these pads on and whatnot. I knew how to put a helmet on, I think. But yeah, there was a bunch of, pretty steep learning curve for me. And I think it took till week 6 before I really got a grasp on the rules of the game. Mitch will tell you it was third down at the end of the second quarter, and I said, I'll have to start off the next half with a punt. And he goes, no, you won't, you idiot.
No, he was like, you were like, we come out and it was like windy, and you were like, man, we're backed up. It's third down. I could have to punt into the wind here. I'm like, what are you talking about? We kick off at the second half.
Oh man,
I love it.
I think it was a pretty sweet transition, just coming in and like Mitch said, actually being able to have some sort of input on, how I thought the conditions fared, if the wind conditions favoured any certain type of kick, and and that definitely gave me a lot of confidence, and I think it helped me perform better for sure. And that was important to be able to perform and then have a resume to find a college after.
Joel felt so comfortable with the coaches that he decided to run and take one game.
Oh my God. I think all of them, and I got ripped. Well, Trent, I never got to coach you actually, but I got ripped like every single year, I think, because like, what the hell are we doing? Coach Maroff, and then, oh, never mind. Okay, good.
No, you're talking about one time, and I remember that time.
No.
It was like I was busy talking to the guy coming off a third down, and it was like I was all of a sudden I hear our side kind of cheering and getting excited. I turned around, there's friggin' Wisnowski running down the sideline for a first down. He gained like 25 yards, and it was like, what? No, yes, go, yes.
Oh, I remember the first time very well. It was my first year coaching here, and Morgan Nevings, who went over it in the meetings, was like, if we get this look, we'll be able to check possibly. You'll check with us, obviously. And he checked it on his own, and Tim Gleason took it for the first down. And Coach Maroff walks over and is like, hey, just so you know, that didn't work. I won't say the rest, but it was hilarious. So,
Yeah.
and every single year, or the 3 years that you guys were there, every single year you guys each did that once. And I was just like, every time I just shook my head, I was like, thank God it worked, except for Joel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old Dairy running Joel.
Surprised Mitch didn't bring it up any earlier. It's his favorite story.
Love it.
All right, Trent, go ahead and give us your version, man, of the Australian move to Santa Barbara.
To be honest, it's pretty much like Joel's. Went to pro kick because had to go to junior college because I didn't do science as well. So it looks like science got all of us. And then I guess Joel copied Mitch because he picked me up from the bus shelter with Tilby. And then we went and played beach volleyball on the first day I was there. And we got burritos. So, I mean, he literally just kept the tradition alive. So
Worked for Joel.
Yeah.
The player I've ever seen, I think, ever. His biceps are too big for his arms. It's not good for volleyball.
it's not. It's definitely not good. But yeah, and then as far as that goes, same with being the fourth in line, it was I guess it progressively gets easier because Joe would tell me what to expect each game. I'd talk to him about it on Mondays when we'd have weights in the morning because he'd still work out. And then just having like the support network and also having Pat Nashotka was fun since he was from Wyoming and came back. So he had like the D1 experience, knew what that was like and what we had to strive for. So his work ethic was really good. So you kind of he knew the standard of what it was to get to that position. So kind of like just followed what he did and worked out with him a lot and would punt and kick with him. So that made it a lot easier for me.
Let me ask you this, guys. What would you tell a recruit? In a shortened version, what would you tell them? What kind of advice would you give them if they're wondering where to go and what to expect and what to look for? Trent,
I'll go first. To the fact that you can have an ice bath literally in the Pacific Ocean after any punting session or workouts or actual practice, and you can just hop across the road and go there. And it doesn't matter what type of day you've had. If you've had a stressful day or you didn't perform well in practice, you could just go there, relax, release some stress. You look over the mountains, and then you got the Channel Islands. So the whole the area itself is relaxing, and it really helps you perform at your best. So
I would say there is no bad day in Santa Barbara. There's not a bad day to go work out, and I've never gone to the field and thought, man, I don't want to do this because it's so beautiful. The weather's so beautiful, and I just really, it's the place you just enjoy every second.
Oh man!
How about you, Mitch?
Yeah, I think. I mean, if you're a football player and you take responsibility for, game time and all that sort of stuff, and don't blame anyone else, then Santa Barbara is, you know, you won't regret it. Like, there's the place is amazing, the campus is amazing, the people are amazing, like the coaches are amazing. Yeah, I don't think anyone would. There would be very few people that would look back and go, I shouldn't have gone to Santa Barbara. I think if you do everything right and you work hard, then you wouldn't regret. I don't think there'll be many people that would go, oh, I should have gone somewhere else.
Right.
I think the expectation is at a really sort of elite level too. Even the nutrition program that Coach Aiden had us doing, counting calories and all that stuff to reach our goals. I mean, even at Washington, we didn't have a stricter sort of program like that. Like, the sort of expectation put on the coaches put on the players is that they want everyone to, you know, be as successful as, you know, to reach their full potential. And then it's sort of up to the players to take that responsibility on themselves and just embrace it and just be all in on that.
A hair tie in your mouth?
Yeah, what is that, Mitch? What do you
hair
got,
tie in your
man?
mouth?
Sorry, I need to grab a charger.
Hey, now let me ask you another question. Just what you know, how was the transition? The actual, I mean, you don't have to get into everything, but the transition from going from community college to the 4-year level, you know, and what, you know, and even beyond to a certain extent, Mitch, but I mean, it's like, what was the key point to being successful from going from that level of competition and expectation to the 4-year level? Trent?
I think at Santa Barbara, we're kind of like set up to be successful at the 4-year level. So the transition, I mean, we were held accountable at the 2-year level. So when you go to the 4-year level, it wasn't that much difficult. Like, anything changed. Like, you know, we had to be early to meetings. We had to be early at meetings at both places. So it really wasn't that much of a transition. The only difference is, like, obviously the facilities wise are better, and we get looked after with gear and stuff like that. But as far as the actual coaching goes and being held accountable, it was exactly the same at both. So the transitional period for like that, we were set up to succeed at the 4-year school. So.
Okay, good. Joel?
Did you say the question one more time?
Nah, just, you know, the transition from a 2-year school to a 4-year school, you know, what is the biggest thing about that either helped you or was hard for you in the transition? Just like coming from Australia to Santa Barbara, there were transitional problems. You know, what about going from the 2-year to the 4-year? What are some things that you could talk about?
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was similar again, sort of leaving Australia to leaving Santa Barbara. I had all these awesome relationships established in Santa Barbara, and it was very, you know, comfortable to sort of to be there and be a part of that. But it was, you know, time to move on and go to Washington, and so it was pretty tough sort of getting there and you know, having to learn all these new guys' names and all the coaches and stuff, and this, you know, there's like 150 people that you should know, and it was just having that sort of reset again. It was like, oh, here we go again. You know, I got to meet everyone again and figure out what was up. And I get there and it's blanketed in snow and 25 degrees, and I was like, oh, it'd be nice to go back to the beach. But yeah, I think it was, you know, give it a few weeks and you find you find your feet, and then you get into that routine, and you know, I felt like, all right, well, I've been through this once. I did this in Santa Barbara. I'm ready to do it again, and I think that made it a little bit easier. I'd been through that experience of getting somewhere and not knowing anyone, not being familiar with the city or the town. I'd already done that in Santa Barbara and just had to sort of reestablish it.
Good. Great. Thanks, Whit. Mitch?
I mean, I think the the thing with punting is if you can hit a nice punt in junior college, you can do it in college. Like, doesn't matter like where you're at or anything like that. If you can hit a big ball, then you can hit it anywhere, sort of thing. So the punting thing doesn't change too much. And I always tried to be extremely disciplined with what I ate, how hard I worked, all things like that. So when I got to Utah, they're pretty strict on that sort of stuff. But I feel like I sort of did all the right things, and even before I got to Santa Barbara, and then once I got to Santa Barbara, and it wasn't like a shock. It wasn't like a shock to me to go there and be like, all right, you've got 5:30 a.m. workouts, and you've got this, and so it's as long as you sort of work hard and you're disciplined, then wherever you go isn't going to be a shock. I feel like some kids can get shocked and be like, wow, this is crazy. But if you sort of push yourself every day, then wherever you go isn't going to give you a big shock like, wow, this is hard, sort of thing. So that was the big thing.
Well, go ahead, Coach Aiden.
I know that Mitch really wanted to bring up I'm kind of talking about it a little bit, but Joel's running technique and running form. We worked on that for a long time in the off season, and just the amount of jokes we had and all the stuff. And then just when I look back at some of the stuff that we had, I got to pull up one of these right here. The dairy farmer. Just that by far was the best signing day picture ever to me, and
that was classic. That was good.
I just freaking crack up because it explains everything. And when I asked him, like, why are you so tight? Why do you run this? Like, well, you're always down you're down there and you're broken. So, because you run like this and like kind of like Prancinoma. So it was so funny. And Mitch would always kill him. I would always kill him. And I think we got everybody else to start killing him as well. So it was pretty funny.
I'm grateful for it though. Joel's slow running won me many Californian burritos over our year together.
Mitch's one rule was it can't be over 200 meters.
Remember when you kicked for Washington's coach when he came here? Do you remember that day?
It was a classic windy Santa Barbara day.
Oh my God, it was windy, and he asked, and then you kicked one. I thought it was either from like the 20 or from the goal line you were kicking, and there was such a gust coming from like it normally does from the goal, and you freaking bombed one, and it freaking went into the far end zone. It went all the way into the far end zone on the field. And I looked at that guy.
I walked out of an exam and walked down to the field, and he was waiting for me. Give me 5 minutes to warm up. And then I said, hey, how about we kick this way first? And I started kicking with the wind, and I think I connected on one or two that went about,
oh my God,
60 plus.
Yeah.
That's all he wants to see.
I also want to know one thing, Trent. How much time do you spend on curls? How much time
every day
to develop those big old biceps you got, man?
Every day. You gotta do it.
There you go.
It's important.
I tell you one thing that was impressive to me on a serious note was, and I don't know if you did or if you tried to, but just the fact that you guys made Trent and you and Mitch both made yourself kickers, not necessarily field goal kickers, but kickoff guys. And I remember you guys working on it exclusively and develop. I mean, is that something you did back in Australia and you just honed it here, or during your redshirt year mainly? That's what I remember specifically. Either one of you.
Yeah, I mean, we would kick offs back home, obviously primarily as punters, but
right.
I mean, it's always good to be able to do kickoffs and field goals if you can. I also just did it to annoy Pat sometimes because there's always a good guy. Get him a little frustrated, challenge him a few times. That was always good.
Mitch, did you kick at Utah at all?
I kicked off 1 year, and I kick off at the Niners. But I played soccer most of my life and always had that muscle memory. I still do have to sort of really figure it out.
I'll tell you the story about the tackle you made in the preseason. I was sitting at Dave's Dogs with the quarterbacks, and we're watching that play, and I saw you kicking. I went, oh, that guy's bringing it out because it wasn't very deep. And then all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, you came and hit the guy. And then you told me later on you were so pissed off because you didn't kick it very well that you came flying down. And the thing that amazed me was how much it lit up the team. It lit up dudes on the sidelines. They were going crazy, and people around going, that's unbelievable. The kicker made the play. I thought that was awesome. It lit them up.
I saw it sort of open up for him, and I was like, that wasn't a great kickoff. It's going to be on me if something bad happens here. So, yeah.
Well, Coach Aiden, you got anything else you want to ask these guys? I want to tell them one more thing before we go.
Bringing up Mitch's 40 stance, when he first got into his 40 stance, because this was a famous story from one of our former coaches. How do I get in this 40 stance again? And we're looking at him, we're just shaking our head. And this is like when we first kind of started to get to know him, and he was doing good at everything. And I'm like, this kid's good at everything. And then he gets in his 40 stance, like, something he's not good at finally. And then he was doing late that time. And he runs a 4.5 flat, I think, or a 4.45 or something like that. Crazy. And everyone's like, Coach, what about his stance? I'm like, he's a freak, fellas. So
yeah.
You remember getting in your first 40 stance?
I remember talking to you and saying, you being like, are you going to be fast enough to run any fakes? And I said, yeah, and you said I look slow. And
so much for being right, huh?
Yeah, and I told Coach Aiden 3 of his wide receivers that I'd smoke, and he didn't believe me.
Turns out,
hey, something worked out because when you went to friggin' Utah, you busted what'd you run there in spring practice when you first went there? Like a 4.57 or something.
4.54, except I was 230 pounds because it's the first time where you get basically unlimited food. So I went a bit overboard with the food there when I first got there.
You weren't eating those Moni's burritos. Hey, well, listen, guys, I really appreciate it. I wanted to say something to you guys, that first of all, I really appreciate you taking the time to visit with us tonight. And, this is big, man. I personally, as the head coach, I got a lot of pride, in all 4 of you guys, and I'm including Gleason, but, Rob and the job you guys did, and Wish and Trent and you, Mitch, but I just want you to remember one thing when I think it was Joel that was talking about one of the things in Santa Barbara before you left to go to Washington, was about the relationships you made here. Well, we all have a relationship, and I want you to know from my heart, you guys are some of my favorite guys, man. And I always talk about all of you guys, and the success we had and the success I wish we would have again. But the Australian connection has dried up temporarily. Hopefully we can rekindle that. But just don't forget, you got a relationship with us. So if there's ever anything we can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out. You guys are special guys, and I wish you luck, in the upcoming years and for the rest of your life, man, because you made a difference in my program here at Santa Barbara, and I was really proud to have worked with you guys. Very, very fortunate for me.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks for having me.
Okay, outstanding, guys. Let's stay in touch, all right? Let's stay in touch. Thank you, guys.
That's good.
All right. See ya.